Trump has a Rose Garden presentation scheduled for today to unveil his tariff plans. But before we get to that, there continues to be good news on a couple of fronts and some middling news on others. On the Doge front, it's nice to see, again, everybody on board. Everybody is under scrutiny. I'm talking about everybody, meaning every federal agency is under scrutiny. And the directors and cabinet secretaries are part of that scrutinizing, which is great. That's how it should be, helping to root out WFA, waste, fraud, and abuse. Brooke Rollins, the latest example. She's the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture. She was on a PragerU podcast and listened to a couple of examples of the WFA stuff that she found.
I mean, at USDA, we're canceling hundreds of thousands of dollars in individual contracts totaling tens of millions, hundreds of millions, where things like, sending $600,000 to San Francisco to support trans farmers and food justice.
Are there trans farmers?
In the last administration, so I know it makes no sense. Another massive grant went to a university in Louisiana to study the menstrual cycles in transgender men.
They don't menstruate.
that was a thing. We found another grant for hundreds of thousands of dollars in Iowa to study how to make diversity, equity, and inclusion more a part of the pest management industry. Oh, no, you can't make this up.
That was a new one for me. I heard about the men's menstrual cycles deal, but the DEI in the pest control industry, that's
something new.
That was a new one. That's great. But anyway, so Brooke Rollins is on the job. We saw Elon Musk recently met with John Ratcliffe over at CIA. So the national security agencies are under scrutiny, self-imposed as well. So Doge, I think, is still clicking along at a pretty good pace. Energy prices. Energy Secretary Chris Wright was on with Stuart Varney talking about energy prices coming down and capacity ramping up. And if your state is an outlier, well, your state is an outlier. There's a reason.
We've seen oil prices go down already. We've seen heating prices go down already. We've seen gasoline prices go down. And yes, we will see more of the same. A lot of it, Stu, is going to be about building infrastructure as well. One of the things President has pointed out, not only do we want lower American energy prices, but he's called out states that have expensive energy. Hello, California, New York, New England, and increasingly my home state of Colorado. If your state has expensive energy, it's because of choices made by politicians in those states to virtue signal somehow they're in some global mission. They're going to solve climate change by making your utility bills more expensive and your businesses want to relocate out of the states. That's just nonsense. And President Trump has called that out and has been pushing everyday common sense. Common sense. Common sense will deliver more investment in our country and lower energy prices.
Well, okay, so that's all well and good. But now on the tax side, both tariffs, which are taxes, as well as the tax cuts that are supposed to be forthcoming. Jason Smith, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, seeming to indicate that he is open to the possibility of rate increases, not just the upper bracket, which we talked about a bit yesterday with Amity Schlaze, but also corporate tax increase. We need a corporate tax cut, like get it down to, Ireland's 15%, particularly to offset the potential negative impacts of tariffs on profitability. Don't we? For more on that, Steve Moore joins us, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Don't we, Steve? Does Jason Smith need a stern talking to?
Well, good morning, guys, and happy Liberation Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are we wearing for Happy Liberation Day, Stephen Moore?
I don't know. I guess green. And I also just want to announce to your listeners that I only buy food from transgender farmers.
Yes. Well, that is very...
I mean, how many transgender farmers are there?
Diverse of you, yes.
If if you're not transgender, I don't want your wheat or your corn or your beef. Okay.
Way to lead by example. Okay, all right, but good to know that about you. Now, Jason Smith.
Yeah. So listen, this is the most important. One of the most important economic lessons is that you want a good tax code has low tax rates and a broad, fair tax low tax rates, and broad base, and so that really did. We broadened the base. The state and local tax deduction, for the most part, which was an absurd. I know some of your friends there in the Chicago area may not like it, but if you don't like it, go to a lower tax place. But then we lowered the rates. Lowered the rates. There's a great book on this by my buddy Arthur Laffer, the most famous economist in the world, that shows every single time that we have lowered tax rates, dating back to the start of the income tax, going back to the 1920s, 100 years ago. We've gotten more revenues, we've got more economic growth, and the economy has performed better for everyone. So this idea now that Republicans have to be retaught this lesson, that's a little depressing to me. You never raise tax rates. If you want to get more revenues, you could close a lot of loopholes in the tax system. How about, Dan and Amy, we get rid of all the green energy tax credits and all that stuff in the tax code?
Well, but I don't understand what's happening. So what is going on? I mean, you're part of the troika there.
Yeah.
What is Jason Smith doing? What is Trump doing?
Well, by the way, I'm very close friends with Jason Smith. I think he's a solid guy. I think he's been a great Ways and Means Committee chairman. That came out of left field. I have to talk to him because that doesn't sound like the Jason Smith that I've talked to. Now, there are other Republicans who publicly said, well, maybe we need to raise tax rates. These are the Republicans from blue states like Illinois, like New Jersey, like New York, the same Republicans who want to bring back the state and local tax deduction and say, well, we have to raise taxes on the rich. But wait a minute. Who are the people who benefit the most from bringing back the state and local tax deductions? Millionaires and billionaires living in Palm Springs, California, Hollywood, California, Manhattan, Long Island, and the rich suburbs of Illinois and Chicago.
Right.
So that's the biggest tax cut for the rich ever if you bring back the state and local tax deduction. But we got to get back. Look, it's very simple, Dan and Amy. Republicans have been off message now for a month. What is the only thing we've been debating on the economy for the last month? Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. So we're going to today. My schedule is jammed all day, and that I made a special case because I wanted to do your guys' show, but. I'm probably doing 25 interviews today. Every one of them is on tariffs. Mm-hmm. We don't want to be talking about tariffs. We want to be talking about tax cuts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Jason Smith thing is baffling to me. I don't understand where the House Republican caucus is and why. This has to get moving. And as I said, I mean, I thought the plan was corporate tax cuts. And an extension of the Trump tax cuts and throw in overtime wages and throw in tips and fine and be done with it. Let's go.
Yeah, this is an important point. So if you're going to do the tariffs, I mean, one of the things Steve Forbes and I wrote in the Wall Street Journal about a month or two ago was, hey, okay, why don't we have a real flat tax, get the tax rate on everything to 15%, a flat tax on capital gains at 15%, on dividend income at 15%, on corporate income at 15%, the highest income tax rate to 15%, and then you could have a 15% tariff, which is just a kind of consumption tax. And it's flat, it's low, everybody pays it, and you're done with it. You get rid of all the special interest provisions. But the deal was if you're going to do tariffs, as you just said, Dan, you got to bring down the corporate rate on things that are made here in America. But all I'm hearing is tariffs, and I'm not hearing a lot about all the other tax cuts that would offset that.
Hey.
Sorry.
So what happens? What happens? What do you expect in the Rose Garden today for Liberation Day? What's he going to propose?
I think that Trump, and by the way, his strategy is reciprocity. He wants to force other countries to bring their tariffs down, and I think at the end of the day, he could win that. And I'm a fan of the president's, and I think that strategy could work. He said it's short-term pain for long-term gain. The problem is there's been a lot of short-term pain already. I mean, look at the stock market. It hasn't reacted very positively. My 401, I don't know about you guys, my 401k plan has taken a hit.
Yeah.
So, it's a question of how soon we can get these trade wars, over. I think Trump will win in the end, but is this going to take a week, a month, 6 months, a year?
So you don't know?
I just don't know. Yeah.
Well, Israel canceled tariffs on American imports.
I know. That was a big
So
deal.
that's something.
And so did he has been getting concessions from other countries. Israel, Mexico's made some concessions. So I think the concessions are going to start coming, but this is a tough period. I mean, the gold price went up to almost $3,200 yesterday, and that is a rush to safety. Because remember, it was below 3,000 just a couple months ago.
Right.
So when people start buying gold, they're afraid, and we don't want an environment of fear. We want an environment of optimism.
Yeah, but when you think about the tariffs on auto parts, I mean, you can have a plant in America, but you'll have a stamping plant where the parts come from Canada and Mexico. I mean, this is a hot mess.
It is a bit of a hot mess, and I've been talking to manufacturers for the last several weeks. Manufacturers here in the United States were saying, "Look, our supply chains are getting all messed up right now. We get stuff from Vietnam, we get stuff from Mexico that comes in, and then we manufacture it, et cetera." So I guess I'm not going to use that term. You used it, but I think it's a very a very dangerous situation right now. And I just want Republicans to get back on the message. If for the last month we'd been talking about tax cuts, not tariff increases, I think we'd be a lot better off as a country. And I think Trump's numbers would be a lot higher than they are today.
Well, right. And I mean, even to the extent, I mean, some clarity is going to be provided today, which will be helpful in and of itself. And he's securing a lot of foreign direct investment and more is to come. And I understand he's trying to reindustrialize the country, and that's going to take some time. But there's no defense to not moving an extension with those additions of the Trump tax cut. I mean, you're talking about a $5 trillion tax increase if this doesn't get done, and then you're going to see a recession.
Yeah,
for sure. That's right. And listen, Trump's heart is in the right place here. He really, there's an old saying: you dance with the one who brung you. And the people who won this election for Trump are those middle class, blue collar workers.
Right.
I have some skepticism that the tariff strategy with respect to, for example, steel and aluminum tariffs are going to work, because you actually raise the cost of steel and aluminum if you put a tariff on, and that means that cars are more expensive, that
and golf clubs,
all the things that we manufacture become more expensive, construction projects, et cetera. So we did learn from the first term that steel tariffs were pretty counterproductive. We gained about 3,000 steel and aluminum jobs, but we lost about 10,000 other manufacturing jobs because that production moved away from the United States. So we'll see. Look, I'm going to bet on Trump. I do think right now, I'm not a financial guru, but stocks are, let me put it, a year or two from now, the prices today are going to look really good. So I don't think people should panic and sell their stocks. If anything, now I think is a pretty good buying opportunity. And I'm not saying that the sell-off is over. It may not well be, but I'm saying, look, in Trump's first term, Dan and Amy, the NASDAQ was up over 100%. The S&P 500 was up over 65%, and the Dow was up over 50%. So Trump does have a track record here of being pretty friendly to investors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not panicked about it either, and I think you're right in terms of a buy opportunity. But that's predicated on tax cuts happening as envisioned.
And by the way, Dan, not just tax cuts, but also look at the
spending side
story
too,
in the Wall Street Journal about the savings of up to $1 trillion from deregulation. The fact that you mentioned what Doge is doing, it's amazing. And by the way, Amy, why is it that Elon Musk is some kind of villain? Why are they spray painting Teslas when he's exposing the fraud, the incompetence, and the criminal activity that's going on in our government, where people are being ripped off? Why is that? Why does that make him a villain?
I don't know. He used to be celebrated, but he was celebrated when he was supporting Obama, and now they're using gasoline. Oh my God, the dreaded gasoline to bomb electric cars. I mean, it's just so hypocritical. And here in Chicago, I mean, Democrats are hurting Democrats who own EVs. So,
hey, Steve, did you get to go to dinner with Kid Rock and Bill Maher and the president?
No, they didn't get. I never got the invitation.
No invite
I'm just
there.
not on that A list anymore.
Not the cool kids.
But,
All right.
but I did see, by the way, that I was very glad to see that the teachers' unions got big pay raises. And there's more money in schools.
$1.5 billion deal. That's great.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have a nurse at a school that has, 27 students. It's going to be great.
It continues to go
I
swimmingly.
just have one other question for you guys. Are they going to put little labels on like oranges and bananas and food that this food was grown by a transgender farmer? Because it's hard to know
how many transgender farmers there are in America. What do you think
Apparently
is the number, guys?
Apparently they're congregating in San Francisco because that's where the grant money went. Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Hopefully it will. The plan to unleash prosperity again will be followed. Stephen Moore, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
And paid for by the Sentinel Group. Has video game addiction shattered your family? You're not alone. Today's $200 billion video game industry intentionally hooks kids, feeling isolation, chaos,